We are here at our beautiful campsite up Diamond Fork in Spanish Fork Canyon in Utah. And we wanted to talk a little bit today about the trailers that we almost bought. So what were some of the trailers we were interested in?
The one that comes to mind to me most was the Black Rock. Is that what it was?
Yeah, we were really impressed with the trailers from Outdoors RV. They build them, they have some really cool features. We talked about them when RV shopping before, but the Wind River, Black Rock, and Creekside models, we really liked those. And at one point, a couple weeks before we bought the Airstream, we almost bought one of those. It was a 17-footer or 19-footer, somewhere in there.
I thought it was closer to 20, but yeah, somewhere in that.
It had great ground clearance, had fantastic insulation, and at that time we wanted something tiny that we could get tucked up into the woods and get into the hard-to-reach places for kind of off-the-grid, self-sustained living. But in the end, it just didn't quite have the storage that we needed, and even though they're really well built, it still kind of had wallpaper on it and didn't feel like us. So we kept going back to the Airstreams, and every time we stepped in the Airstream, we just said, this is us. We got excited about it. And we kind of went the polar opposite. We got something lower to the ground with less insulation that was longer, but I don't regret our decision one bit.
I feel like a really big turning point for us was once we realized, okay, do we want to always be out in the woods alone all the time? And we realized, no, like we want to be with people. And if we have this super souped up rig that we can take down all these sketchy roads, that'd be really lonely. We might want to do that sometimes, but once we made that decision that we don't mind being where we have cool neighbors, that was a huge turning point, I think.
Yeah, that was really important. And my job wouldn't work there because I need internet service constantly. So even if our rig could go out in the middle of nowhere, that's not going to work from. And some other brands we looked at, and you might want to check out if you're not sure about Airstream, or if it's not for you, or if it's out of your budget, is in the late 80s. Well, the 80s, well, actually like the 60s through the 89, there was a company called Avion, and they're aluminum trailers like these, and I actually think they're even a little bit better built and even more sturdy. The frame's twice as strong, the shell's stronger. They don't use the pink insulation like you see in your house. They spray it on, which makes the outer hull really rigid. We almost bought one of those, and they're about half the price of an Airstream. Although a lot of the owners now, for some reason, think they're worth Airstream prices, which they're not. But we almost bought one of those, but we had a really hard time finding a clean one. We really wanted like an 86 to 89 in the 25 to 31 foot range.
We had such specific criteria, it made it a little difficult. But they are really cool, and if you found something that worked for you, just know because they are a little bit older, it's going to be a project rig, but yeah, they're really neat trailers.
Super strong foundation to start from. They look a little dated, but they use like solid wood in those. They were built by a cabinet maker, and so yeah, you're gonna find a really well built rig in those. They're a little bit heavier, but they have some really cool features, and we would have no problems going to one of those instead of our Airstream. Except that we love our Airstream so much.
Yeah, I like how a lot of them have like this blue stripe that goes around the outside. They kind of look like R2-D2, like those kind of cool. Like a cool 80s retro vibe. It was sweet.
Yeah, for sure. But those were bought by Fleetwood toward the end, but still made by Avion. And it's a bummer they went out of business because those were really well-built trailers. Heavier duty than the Airstreams for sure. Another trailer we never got to see that we really wanted to was the Bigfoot trailer. These are huge in Canada, and they're made out of 2 fiberglass shells, kind of like a pool or a hot tub or even a boat. They're super strong. They have fantastic insulation. They don't get mold in them. They're super weatherproof. The roof doesn't leak. They just sounded awesome on paper. But they were Airstream prices. Those were starting at $50,000 for a 25-foot trailer. And there were no dealers within 700 miles of our house that had them, so we could never look at them. But the Bigfoots were definitely on our radar and something we wanted to check out. There were only 1 or 2 floor plans that we actually liked, and they still had nasty wallpaper inside. Nasty to us. If that doesn't bother you and it feels more homely for you, you should check out Bigfoots.
Yeah, I'd still like to set foot in one someday.
Yeah, me too. Other trailers we think are cool are those little casitas and Oliver trailers that Technomadia used to have. We almost got an Oliver too, but they're 40,000, 50,000 as well.
And also small.
Yeah,
know?
they're quite small, but they make great use of the space, but it wasn't big enough for us to work out of and live in there. But if we were older and we were retired, that's probably something we would look at going with. They're really well built, awesome interior. They're trying to compete directly with Airstream, but and I think I like the looks of them. I like the frame. I like everything about them, except they're just a little too small. Fender's growling at another dog over there. But yeah, those were, because the Olivers were pretty sweet. What else? We also have never seen an Oliver in person. They're all back east, and there's not a ton, and they're kind of dispersed, so it's hard to find one of those. They're never at trailer shows or anything. But we like the interior look and feel. They were the only other ones that looked modern compared to an Airstream. What else did we look at? We looked at a Keystone Bullet Premier 19-footer that we almost bought, but we've heard horror things about Keystone's warranty, but they had great ground clearance. It was small. You could tuck it up into tough spaces to get to. Yeah, we were really having a hard time deciding, do we want something with tons of ground clearance, it's tiny, that'll handle the rough roads? And in the end, we realized we have a van. We can just take the van when we want to go to rough roads and leave the trailer somewhere else. And even the world's most rugged off-road trailers like they have in Australia, which we would love, like the Jayco version in Australia, not affiliated with the US Jayco. Those are sweet, check them out. Even if we had one of those, we still wouldn't be able to get up into the spots that we love to get into in the mountains. So that kind of helped us sway this way. Another company that makes a fiberglass one, the Little Snoozy, that one really appealed to us as well. Those are sweet. They're cheap, they're well built, a lot of cool designs that he's doing some out-of-the-box thinking. Check those out, the Little Snoozy. And he's got options where you can buy it as an empty shell and you can build it yourself. They use no propane, I believe. We'll have to check me on that. I don't think they use propane at all. Everything's electric, induction cooktops, or yeah, and they use a little cassette toilet. Those Little Snoozies are sweet. If we weren't doing this for 5 years and working out of it, I think if we were just weekend warriors going out on the weekends to camp, I'd really look into a Little Snoozy. They're light, easy to tow, super sturdy, well insulated, cool features.
We wanted to set foot in some Arctic Fox trailers, but there weren't really any around. So there's so many that were on our radar that we just didn't get the opportunity to see.
And we were driving like 3 hours from home to see some, and yeah, no Arctic Fox dealers in Utah. But Arctic Fox, Northwood is their parent company. This is something interesting, and you'll learn this, is there's like 8 RV companies, and then they have 50 brands below them. So most companies. So there's Arctic Fox, Nash, they're all the same parent company of Northwood. And Northwood, Mr. Nash, who started Arctic Fox and Nash, also started Outdoors RV. So they're like cousin companies. They're very comparable. So even though we never set foot in an Arctic Fox, we set foot in an Outdoors RV in a Black Rock and the, man, I can't believe I'm remembering some of these still.
I can't either.
The Black Rock and the Wind Rivers and the Creekside, those are pretty similar to the Nashes. But there's a really cool Nash out there, the 17 something, I want to say R or Q or W, something like that. That's got a lot of ground clearance, awesome insulation, nice small little unit, but I think it was a little too small for us. Okay, what else did we want to look at? The fiberglass ones were really cool. The Oliver and Little Snoozy and Bigfoot really appealed to us. And actually Airstream just bought Nest Trailers, they were out of Oregon. They didn't quite hit full production yet before Airstream bought them, but they're fiberglass trailers as well. And they're small. They're in like the 12 to 18 foot range. So we hope Airstream gets a hold of those and makes some fiberglass cheaper trailers for the younger generation like us. That'd be cool. We were also looking at like buying a $5,000 to $8,000 used Jayco or Nash or something like that and just redecorating it. That would have saved us a ton of money. So, you know, if you don't have $50,000 to $80,000 for an Airstream, you can either get an older Airstream that's going to need a lot of work, or you can don't get an Airstream and get something else and renovate it and make it yours. I've seen a lot of great renovations on Pinterest and YouTube and blogs where they'll paint over the wallpaper, or they'll give it some fresh new cabinets, and it totally changed the interior of
Yeah,
it.
people have done some really cool stuff. It's just time. So, I mean, you know, that for us was something we factored into our decision too, like time versus money, where we were both working and making good money. But I mean, people do some amazing things with those remodels. There's new ones popping up online all the time, and more information to pull from if you decide to do something like that, which who knows, maybe we will someday.
And I almost feel that some of those trailers were better built, like in the late 80s, 90s, than they are today. Today, they're kind of throwaway trailers, a lot of trailers. They're just use them for a few weeks out of the weekend and trade them in, and then stuff's falling apart. So that was our thought, at least. But yeah, hopefully that's educational to you. I wish someone had given us that list when we started shopping, because we looked at literally every single brand and whittled it down. One other that I'm going to mention is ADAC trailers out of they're east somewhere. And they're kind of off-road, lifted hunting rigs. They're pretty cool. I tried to get in touch with them. Didn't have much luck. And they're around the 60 to 80 grand, I think. They're not cheap. They've got some cool stuff going on there. They look extremely well built, but we've never seen one in person. And we totally dig the Moby One trailers, the little teardrops, these off-road teardrops, but they're like $18,000 for a little teardrop. But we could see ourselves doing that one day when we're retired, if we do want to get to more rugged stuff, or just buying a Sprinter like our buddy Mike had. That thing's sweet.
Yeah.
We love your Sprinter, Mike. Anyway, those are some of the options we looked into but didn't buy. Do you have any regrets about our rig?
I don't. We're talking about driving it, towing it, and I still haven't driven yet while we're towing the Airstream. And I told Steve, I think when I have to drive towing the Airstream, I think that all my hair is gonna fall out and then come back in white, because I'm really nervous about how big it is. But because we want to leave it parked for, you know, a while at a time, we don't plan on just burning through gas as quick as we can. It seems like a good fit. I'm excited.